What's up, brick builders? Mayor Brick here. Welcome back to the channel. All right, I want to make a quick video here specifically directed at the good Bricks and Minifigs owners, because honestly, a lot of you are getting absolutely dragged through a situation that you did not create. And I genuinely do feel bad for a lot of these individual store owners right now. Because let's be real here, most of these store owners are probably just normal people. Lego fans, small business owners, families, people that opened a franchise because they love the hobby and wanted to share it with their community. I don't think most franchise owners had anything to do with what happened at the store out in Oregon. But the problem is right now, the internet is not separating the bad store from the brand. And that's just the reality. So I've been seeing a lot of the franchise stores posting statements on social media over the past couple of days. And honestly, I think a lot of them are accidentally making things worse for themselves. Not because they're malicious, not because they're bad people, but because the messaging feels incredibly disconnected from the reason why people are upset in the first place. And every statement kind of follows the same formula. We're a local family. We love our community. We are independently owned and operated. We are not connected to corporate. We're just passionate Lego fans. And again, I actually believe most of that is genuine. I'm sure a lot of these owners are good people. And I'm sure a lot of them are scared right now. And I'm sure a lot of them are trying to protect their businesses that they've poured their life savings into. But here's the issue. None of these statements are actually addressing the issue itself. That's the disconnect. Because from the public's perspective, these posts feel strangely robotic, like they were written specifically to avoid saying the thing people are actually talking about right now. And when every single store is posting the same exact message, we are independently owned and operated, people read that as, don't blame us. But the public already knows that franchises are independently owned and operated. People understand how that works. The question people are asking is not, who controls your inventory? The question people are asking is, do you think what happened was wrong? And literally none of the franchise statements I've read actually address that question. They dance around it. Instead, they immediately pivot into, we love our town. We hire local employees. We support schools. We're a family business. Okay, but what about the actual issue? Because whether stores like it or not, they are still choosing to operate under the Bricks and Minifigs name. That matters. You are definitely paying franchise fees. You might be paying royalties. I don't know how the franchise agreements work, but you are financially participating in the ecosystem of the brand. And again, that does not make every franchise owner guilty. It does not mean every owner supports what happened. And it absolutely does not mean that people should be going around harassing individual stores that had nothing to do with this. But simply pretending that there's zero connection just does not feel believable to people either. Because the corporate entity still benefits from the individually owned and operated franchises carrying that name. That's just objectively true. And I think that's why these boilerplate statements are just landing so poorly online. They don't feel human. They feel carefully engineered. They read less like, hey, we understand why people are upset, and more like, how do we legally distance ourselves from this situation as fast as possible? And emotionally, that just doesn't satisfy people. Especially because this story just stopped being a business dispute a long time ago. People are emotionally invested in this because it involves trust in the Lego community. Collectors trust stores with things that can represent decades of memories, sometimes life savings, sometimes retirement money. That's why people are angry. And when stores respond with polished PR-style distancing language while never even acknowledging the family involved, it comes across as cold, even if that is not the intention. And honestly, I think the better approach is way simpler. You don't need to attack corporate. You don't need to violate franchise agreements, but you can sound human. You can say, hey, this situation is upsetting. We understand why the community is frustrated. We care deeply about trust in the collector community. We hope the family involved gets a fair resolution. That alone would completely change how folks online are perceiving these local stores. Because a lot of these statements honestly feel like someone asked ChatGPT, hey, how do I avoid liability while still sounding somewhat wholesome? And the internet can smell that instantly. The stores that are going to survive this best are probably the ones that stop sounding like a PR department and more like an empathetic business partner in the community who unfortunately are caught in a blast radius right now, but acknowledge the situation, acknowledge the issue, acknowledge how unfair it is, and just sound like a normal person. Because this whole thing stopped being a singular store issue in Oregon once millions upon millions upon millions of people watched this unfold online and are now emotionally invested. Now it's a brand reputation issue. And whether people like it or not, every single store carrying that Bricks and Minifigures name, whether independently owned and operated or not, is attached to the conversation. That's just the reality of branding. And one more thing, people should absolutely stop and not be harassing local franchise owners who had nothing to do with this situation. Seriously. I get it, but there are so many good people that are just unfortunately caught in the blast radius of this thing right now. But if you are a franchise owner watching this right now, I genuinely do think the best thing you can do is to distance yourself from the independently owned and operated messaging. People are smelling right through that, and just acknowledge why people are upset in the first place and acknowledge the situation. Because unfortunately, you can't PR your way out of an emotional situation with technicalities. Anyways, that's my take.